afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and are safe. I would like to welcome you all to Stay at Home, Continue to Learn a webinar series, and in the webinar today entitled Using Audio-Visual Resources to Support Remote Teaching and Learning. I would like to start by introducing our respected presenters, Mr. Ashok Shapkota and Ms. Vaishali Pradhan. Mr. Shapkota is a teacher trainer, researcher, and lecturer of English at Department of English Education, Open and Distance Education Center, ODEC, Tribhuvan University. He has completed his MPhil in English Language Education from Kathmandu University, M.Ed from Tribhuvan University, and short-term training courses from University of Nevada, US, and online courses from University of Oregon, US. He is a Fulbright Teaching Excellence Fellow 2014, sponsored by Department of Foreign and Consular Affairs, United States. He has presented papers in national and international conferences. And our next presenter, Vaishali Pradhan. Ms. Vaishali Pradhan is currently the head of English and Education at the British Council in Nepal. With a master's in mass communication and a Cambridge Delta, she has over 14 years of experience developing and delivering projects with a focus on training teacher, educators, primary and secondary level teachers, and school teachers on English language teaching, 21st century skills, communicative teaching techniques, and action research. Let's welcome our presenters, and without further ado, I'd hand over the platform to Ashok sir. Over to you, Ashok sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Radhaji, for your short introduction. Welcome to you all. Stay at home, continue to learn webinar series. Today, here we are with the presentation entitled Using Audiovisual Skills in the Remote Settings and Teaching Learning Process. Here we are. So welcome. I'll have some few highlights on the precaution things so that it will be easier for you. Regarding the recording of webinar, the link will be sent to your email tomorrow that you have been registered. You can avail the additional resources at British Council website and NELTA website, as you can see on the link on your screen. Regarding the certificate, you will receive an email tomorrow with a link to your certificate. You can type your name in the space and download as well as print it. And the evaluation form, you will also receive an email tomorrow with a link to your evaluation form. Your feedback will be highly appreciated. Regarding evaluation form, please don't forget to miss it. Yeah, there are some few housekeeping rules. If you are not the speaker, please maintain the decency and you can keep yourself on mute. It's recommended that you switch off your video during the presentations. Well, finally, use the chat box in case you have any questions for the presenter. Moving to the next. Well, why we are here then? By the end of this webinar, you will be able to understand the why audiovisual resources is necessary in teaching and learning remotely, and we'll be familiar with some tips on using those audiovisual resources effectively, and thirdly, having access to some quality of audiovisual resources to support learning outcomes. Well, let's start with the context of audiovisual, where we are, why we need it. So to move further, let's start from your experience, because experience is the most important factor that we recall in our life and in teaching and learning. So to move with the things, we have audio, we have visual. So audiovisual, what does audiovisual mean to you? Let's have short activity, chat activity. You can write your answers in the chat. What does it actually mean to you? Dear participants, can you have your short reflection what it mean to you in the chat box. It's now your time. You can write on your chat options. Great. That can be heard and seen. Thank you, Kamal sir. To move further with the things, we have something that can be heard, something that can be seen. Okay, listening and hearing. Yes, we have the language skills, something to listen, something to hear. Good, Kiran. An activity of looking and hearing both at the same time, audiovisual together. Okay, great. Listen and seen, or listen and see. Carry heard and voiced. Very, very nice word. Both sight and sound. Wow. Look at things, how we have skill, combination of skills of hearing and visual. Great. Activities that encourage learning through visual. Great. So here we come with audio and visual, sound and voice. Look at the words, how we have been using it. This sounds very interesting. Sound, listen and see, or listen or see in something that access with us. Materials that can be seen or heard. Well, so we are familiar with what audiovisual means. Images in the mind. Wow. Thank you, Vasanta. Images on the mind and the sound, and that can be visual. So yes, you are familiar with audiovisual and you have been using. I know you, most of you are very much effective and experienced teacher. So which is the most effective one that you ever found in your experience or during your teaching regarding audiovisual one? Which tool or which activity that you found to be more useful in your teaching career? I know you have tried many, but which one? For example, it could be simply listening text, audio listening text, simply video, or both. Some of you said both. Okay, something visual. Yes, we are also in the remote setting. Which one is more effective? The visual is more effective. Both. Some of you have both. Some of you said video. Okay, most of your answers go with the both one. Visual materials. Okay, visual materials. Visual materials. Visual is more effective. Great. Longer. You are reading the things first. Okay, in remote setting, visual, remote setting audio could be yes. People tend to remember which one is more. They have saw. That's really good. Mamatapun, I relate. Yes, printed materials also we have. That we have already said, audio visual, which we can link with the print as well. And now we have audible, even PDF can be read these days. But okay, so moving to the next one. Next one, let's go with the things. So we have very much things as you can see on the screen. Sometimes we used to go with the radio, very classical, but there are several radio programs. I know most of you, the teachers present here, you have launched several radio programs in English. Even ESE preparation, we're going in English. Then sometimes we have great, yes, it could be basic, what we call today basic and prime, lower secondary, even secondary, from 9 to 12. We use audio resources as well. And these days when we shifted from the Zoom or Teams or else, we haven't started with the chat. Even Messenger, there is a thing with we go with the chat forms. So let's a little bit talk about the possible tools. So adapting traditional teaching with audiovisual materials. Why? We can lead it to the better learning. As some of you said earlier, let's bring some changes in our teaching with some audio-visual material. First, you all teachers, you are really important source. Your voice is really important source. We can we can beautify our teaching more with adding these audio-visual materials that will really lead to the better learning. The examples could include simply listening and audio, right? So likewise, our access, our topic is concerned with remote one setting. So whether we get access or not, yes, radio programs might be accessible. Yes, and nowadays people have been using CUG service from Nepal Telecom. Our main or prime target is to bring aptitude to change and support learners. That's why sometime, if possible, regularly, if not, can be once a month or occasionally, we can also integrate the video lessons. Great. And why then? Why these tools necessary then? We students feel motivated. And as some of you shared, they can remember for a longer time. Enjoy with the greater control. Yes, the example include audio and visual materials, which is very common these days too. Then what happens at the end then? Wow in learning, cheers in learning. The Then the students will remember the material, remember the content, not only content, they will also remember you. This is very interesting. When we integrate some changes on our learning, that becomes permanency on the learning, and that permanency, the students will always remember, yes, this is my best teacher. So then finally, the world of digitalization in the learning. Let's look on our axis and start our steps. And it may not be possible rapidly. However, we can go step by step. In the digitalization of the learning, we talk about web-based technologies, but we couldn't forget where we are. Where are our footprints? The technology that we can or possible integration in our area. So to move further, yes, why? Just having the need of audiovisual. Why do we need audiovisual then? There are something learners with real life situation. Sometimes the students listen it very attentively. Sometimes there is fun with them, like games also. Learners feel happy, and as you all shared, learning become permanent. It creates motivation. Yes, the recent critical thinking skills can be developed, and we adapt ourselves with the students, and we know where our footprints. Now, just for a while, are there anything or any additional thing we need to integrate audiovisual materials in our classroom, in our lesson, in our teaching, in our learning? Let's have short activity on the chat. What do you think? Can you add your thoughts more on this? Then mention on your screen. Now your time. Just for a while. We have real life situation. We have fun. Yes, those who can't hear, those who have a special needs. Yeah, Muniram Sharma has said, yes, we can add something with they had their separate level of learning, which we can make them, and at least differentiated learner, you mean to say. Yeah, vocational skills can be developed. Very good idea. Yes, Basanta said, sometimes vocational skill. Sometimes we take learners to the real situation and make it visualize. Very good. With the pandemic also, to cope with the pandemic, what they have done, and it becomes permanency on the learning. What we did, what we call these days, sustainable learning, or life skills, which we have, or we use in social studies as well. So great. Moving with the things first, how we can incorporate the ideas, real life situation beyond the box, making the things fun, making the learners happy. Not only learners happy, but we also can be happy when we are satisfied with our teaching. Yeah, long-term memory, not rote learning, lifelong learning, sustainable learning. Thank you, Saraswati, for your reflection as well. And critical thinking, not only the book, it's not only things learning that the teachers say is good, but is there anything different? What we call there is some critical thinking. Some people these days use in theory, they call critical pedagogy, but where and how? It's, yeah, Durga shared, yeah, either visual or audio won't be able to convey feelings. We go straight forward. When we go to the real situation, yes, sometimes it makes feel too. Asuksa shares that it's something different from daily life and brings interesting among the learners, which we can take the project works. Learning focused techniques can be implemented. Thank you, Lakshman, sir, for your sharings. And yeah, this is how we'll be going on. So that's why let's integrate how much we can with the audiovisual materials. To move further with the sharings. Yeah, now may I request Ms. Paishali Pradhan to share the ideas furthermore. Over to you.
Thank you. We've shared quite a bit of things on why audiovisual would be needed, how does it support, how does it help. Before we move any further, I'd just like to share the results of a very mini survey that we had done prior to the webinar, just to understand the Nepali context, just to understand how our teachers use audiovisual resources. So one of the questions was, how often do you use audiovisual resources while teaching remotely? The results on your screen, it's about 60, almost more than 65% of teachers actually said that they sometimes use it. Now, sometimes I understand the word is a bit iffier, a little ambiguous, maybe sometimes would be once a week, sometimes could even be 4 times a week. But still, we got an idea that our teachers do use audiovisual resources. But what was a little bit surprising was that about 32% of teachers actually use it every time they take a class. So every time they took a remote class, they either used audio resources or visual resources, and it's quite high. Just a little bit of a small percentage of teachers said that they never use it, but the 32% was actually really high and quite interesting. The next question we asked them was, where do you actually find resources for your online classes? Most of them, 61%, more than 61%, actually said that they sometimes research materials online, they sometimes create their own content, they sometimes use the textbook. So kind of a mix between all of these. Again, 28.7% saying they use a mix of online resources and the textbook. So what this tells us is our teachers do use a lot of online resources and a lot of audiovisual resources. So that makes it very important for us to understand how should we evaluate and select the right resources, because there's so much out there. There's probably every other day something, a video or an audio is coming out related to one of the topics that we have to teach in class. So how do you actually select the right materials? Because we use it so much. The one question that we always need to ask ourselves is, why am I using this additional resource? What is it doing for you? Are you just doing it because your peer is doing it? Are you doing it because it's just savvy to use visual materials in our classes? Why are you actually using it? What is this resource actually doing for you? That's a very important question you ask. Is it supporting you to meet your learning outcomes? Would you be able to do this class better if you used it? Or doesn't it change anything? So we use audio resources if it supports you to meet your learning outcomes. If it doesn't, then you might as well not use it. The next point is, you should be able to evaluate the quality, the ease of use, and the effectiveness of that resource. Again, is it effective? Is it adding anything extra to your classroom? Is it supporting the learning of your students? If it is, yes, go ahead and use it. If not, maybe you would decide just to use the textbook. The next one, ensure that it meets the needs of your learners. Again, at the center of our teaching and learning is always our learners. Whatever we do it so that it helps them. So again, coming back to the resource, does it ensure that it meets the needs of your learners? The next one is to check the authenticity of the resource. Like I said, there is so much out there. As teachers, you should be able to find out what is authentic and what is not. Does it come from a reliable source? Is it prepared by a reliable institution? Has it been checked and reviewed by people? So we need to check the authenticity of that resource as well. And finally, you need to check for child protection issues. Not all resources out there, not all videos out there are suitable for the age group of your children. There might be words there that are not suitable for them. There might be dialogues there, or there might be images there which are not appropriate for their age. So you first need to check whether there are any child protection issues related to that video or the audio, and then make your selection. Moving on then, I've given a couple of questions that you as teachers need to keep in mind when we select the right kind of audiovisual materials during your remote setting. The first one is it age appropriate? Is it culturally appropriate? Or what about the interests and needs of your teachers? The other thing is it multi-channeled? Because, for example, some of your learners might be using a laptop. Some of them might be using an iPad. Some of them might be using the phone. So the resource that you select, audio or visual, is it appropriate for that medium? Can it be visible when during that medium that they use? So that's very important for us to check. And of course, is it safe? The next one would be around the activity. So what about is it logically sequenced, whatever is shown in the video? If it's an English language lesson that you're targeting, is the language that is there appropriate? Does it talk about language that can be recycled? Does it have clear instructions? Is the audio clear? All of those things you need to be able to check and answer before you select the resource. Just a minute. I know there's too much noise from my son. I will just close the door. Please excuse me. Apologies for that. Coming back to the slides. The next one is about the language. Again, if it's an English language class, you would want to be very careful about the pronunciation that is used, the fluency of the video that you use, because you want to use that resource to be able to support your learning. So all of that is very important. The next, of course, like I said, because it is supporting you in your classroom teaching, what level of teacher support is required? Can the video work on its own, or do you have to add some activities along with the video? That is also very important to check. Next, what is the layout? Again, if it's primary children, you want to use a video that is colorful, that has cartoon characters maybe, or characters they relate with. But a video which has cartoon characters might not be appropriate for your secondary level students. So you need to check the layout of the audio or visual resource that you choose as well. The next one is about accessibility. Is it easy to access then? Can learners access it from their smartphones, tablets, etc.? Like I said, sometimes some videos are accessible only on a laptop. And if at the other end, your learner is working or doing your class from a phone, it might not be accessible. So little things like this, you really need to be careful while selecting and prioritizing your materials. There was a question in the chat related to what about if there is a student who can't hear? Obviously, you can't choose just an audio if you know you have students in your class who are hard of hearing. But visual materials will work perfectly. You might use a video, and nowadays it's very easy. YouTube videos do have either they have subtitles or they have words that are up there as the narration comes. You can click a button which allows the words to come up on the screen. You might want to click that feature while using a video, so that the child who is hard of hearing will be able to read and still understand, whereas the others will follow the audio part of that video. So little things like this is very careful when you select the right kind of materials. And if you are using materials to support the learning outcomes of your class, and if you are using the materials to be able to support you in your learning. If a video doesn't do that, don't use it. Just use the textbook. Because one thing you need to remember is we are using audiovisual materials to support learning, not to create an extra burden or not just for fun. So these questions really important when we are choosing or selecting the right kind of materials. I'd now like to hand it over to Ashok sir, who will do a short demo of using a visual material for a class 11 lesson. He will tell you more about it, and then we'll come back again for more on the presentation. Over to you, Ashok sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishal ma'am. Yeah, now we are with the examples. So moving quickly with the sharing of your ideas first. Yeah. Let me quick check with the things first. So with the things, right. Now, I hope you can see my screen. To move furthermore with the things, could you please check your chat box? There are two questions. There was a question in the chat earlier. Sometimes the teachers are blamed that we show the video. We don't teach. We are relaxed. There might be some leading question first. When we show the video that we download from the available resources, here we need to consider why are we showing. So here, as you can see on the chat box, there are two questions. This is an example taken from grade 11 compulsory English, the literary genres course. The first story, The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. Yeah, dear participants, there are two questions. The first question goes with, how long did the selfish giant stay with his friend? Once again, how long did the selfish giant stay with his friend? The second question, what was the message written on the notice board? After watching this video for a few minutes, the questions are posted in the chat box. And when the video stops, please try to answer these two questions shortly. Once again, quick check. Two questions. The first question is, how long did the selfish giant stay with his friend? Second question, what was the message written on the notice board? Here we go.
Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in the giant's garden. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars. And there were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl, and in the autumn bore rich fruit. The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games in order to listen to them. "How happy we are here," they cried to each other. One day, the giant came back. He had been to visit his friend, the Cornish ogre, and had stayed with him for 7 years. After the 7 years were over, he had said all that he had to say, for his conversation was limited. And he determined to return to his own castle. When he arrived, he saw the children playing in the garden. "What are you doing here?" he cried in a very gruff voice, and the children ran away. "My own garden is my own garden," said the giant. "Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself." So he built a high wall all around it and put up a notice board. "Trespassers will be prosecuted." He was a very selfish giant.
So here we go with the things first. Let's come to the chat. Okay, thank you for your questions as well. So the first question was, again, let me give you a quick reminder first. Pre-discussion questions, as we just shared. How long did the selfish giant stay with his friend? Very good. 7 years. Good. And the 7 years, 7 years, 7 years. Okay. The first question first. How long did the selfish giant stay with his friend? 7 years. He stayed with his friend for 7 years. Fantastic, Mamata, for your complete sentence answer. Most of you have a short answer. 7 years, shortly. Well, thank you so much. For second one, what was the message written on the notice board? What was the message written on the notice board? Can you write a full sentence answer, please? Great, great. Great. Trespassers will be prosecuted was the message written on the notice board. Great, great. The message was trespassers will be prosecuted. Great. Here we come with the sharing first. Let me have a quick sharing for you all here. In compulsory English of grade 11, particularly with the literature section, the selfish giant, the oval portrait, God see the truth, the wish, civil fish, the red roads, sharing tradition. Almost many of the text or lessons are available in video mode as well as in audio mode. Likewise, in the language development section, the first lesson we have I am Malala, which we can adapt the real text that she has spoken. Not only that, we can also say how a speech is delivered, how a students can deliver, not reading, but the difference. So we can link. If we are in the remote area, we can link the audio resources. If we are in the available area, we can also link the video resources. But the concern is, why are we using this audio? So we have some pre-discussion question, then video, then discussion. It particularly works in our context as well. So then the learner become engaged. When the learners seem to be engaged, yes, the parents also might be happy, and they will not say, oh, the teacher is passing the whole time simply by showing the video, but there are the questions which we can work on. So by this remark, may I request Ms. Vaishali Pradhan to give another example with the basic level of education where we can integrate our lessons. Over to you.
Thank you so much. So there you saw an example of how videos support the learning of our classrooms. Now, if you see the example that Ashok sir just gave, it would have been fine if you got your students to read the text. That would have worked. But introducing a video did a lot of other things which the text wouldn't have done. One, they are improving their listening skills. Second, they are understanding the text based on visuals. So there was a lot of things going on there which helped them understand the text better, which just by reading wouldn't have been possible. And in a remote setting, it would have been so easy for you to show the video rather than get them to read the text. Maybe if it's a face-to-face classroom, you would need extra resources to show them the video, but in a remote setting, you already have that. And the video is actually going to save time. It's also going to enhance their learning, which probably just the text is not going to do. Now, one, we use audiovisual resources in the classroom. So while you are taking your online lesson, that's one way we can use it. But there are various other ways where you can use audiovisual resources beyond the classroom. So let's try and understand that a bit more. So you can use audiovisual resources before the lesson. You can take a flipped classroom approach, where if your learners are accessible through a WhatsApp group or a Viber group, or maybe you use Google Classrooms, you can send the video of a lesson prior to taking the lesson and put a few questions there. For example, if you are teaching them how to, let's give an example of a grade 3 curriculum that we have, maybe you want to teach them about the life cycle of a butterfly. We have it in our grade 3 curriculum. Maybe you send them an appropriate video that shows them the life cycle of a butterfly and ask them to go through that video before they come to the classroom. So when you come to the classroom, you can actually just check their prior knowledge, check their understanding, and have a discussion. So you save time, you're focusing more on discussion because they've already watched the video. Or maybe you can show the video one more time to just refresh the memory because they are grade 3 children. They need a lot of repetition. That's going to support you in your learning outcomes. So one way of using a video or an audio is before the classroom. So you're flipping your classroom. The next would be maybe it's an additional resource on the lesson topic. So maybe you're teaching them about colors. Again, maybe a primary classroom where you're introducing colors to them. You do a lot of color related activities in the classroom, and maybe you send them a video that talks about colors and you tell them to go through it so that it's an additional resource. So it could be after the classroom where you're sending it to them again in a WhatsApp group or on your Google Classroom. The next way of using audiovisual resource could be as a reference for a homework assignment. So maybe you are teaching them, let's go back to another beyond, because I'm sure we've got other subject teachers here as well. Let's go beyond. So let's say we are teaching them addition. You taught the concept of addition in your classroom, and you've given them a homework assignment for a couple of lessons, for a couple of sums. Maybe you want to paste a link to a video where they are telling a bit more about the concept of addition, which they can go through once again before they do their homework assignment. Because we know in an online class, it's not the same as a 40-minute face-to-face class where you can give attention to majority of your students. In an online class, it gets a bit difficult. So maybe for your slow learners, maybe for the ones you weren't able to give so much support, that audiovisual resource is going to be a lot of help before they do their homework assignment. So it's going to be as a reference for that homework assignment as well. The other way you can use a video or an audio is to use it as an assignment. And this is what I'm going to do, a very short demo with you on how you can use a video as an assignment tool. The example I'm going to share with you is from grade 4. Right now for our online classes, the government has taken out a shrink curriculum. So I've based it around the learning outcomes of that one. So in grade 4, one of the outcomes for listening is to be able to follow directions on a map. So this is what I'm going to share with you an example of how you can actually use a video to be able to assess your students. So let's imagine you've already taken the class. In the class, you gave them concepts of, let's say, right, left, go straight, turn left, or next to, the building next to. So you've already given them these lexical chunks. So you've already done that, and you now want to take an assessment, okay? So I'm going to show you an example of how you can do that. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the tool Edpuzzle. It's an online tool that you can use. It's free, where you can take a video and you can break it up at different points and insert questions. And you can send this link to your students, or you can even do it in class where they can give you the answer in the chat box, or you can send the link to them. They do it at home, they answer the question, and they send you a response. Okay, so I'm going to show this to you. Just a minute. Let me start that again. Right. Hoping my screen is visible. Ashok sir, a thumbs up for me on the screen if you can. Yes. Right. So I'm going to play this video and you'll see how it pauses in between and a question comes next to it.
A.
Go straight on, then take the first left onto Green Street. Walk past the library and it's the building next to the library on the left.
So if you can see on the side of my screen, the question has come up. So it says, now where are you? So the video gave them a set of instructions, direction. Now the learner needs to click on the right answer. So where are you? What do you think is the answer? Can anyone take it on this chat box so that I can input your answer here? Which one is the right answer? I'm at the post office. Yes, I got that from someone. So let me take that. So I click on that and I click on submit. It gives me the answer. Is it correct or wrong? Yeah. Now I play it again. So I continue.
B.
Go straight on, go past the traffic lights. You'll see a shop on the right. Go past that, and it's on the right next to the shop.
So where are you now? Front of the shop, front of the underground station, or front of the theater? What's your response? There, Durga sir says underground station. Let me try that. And we are correct. Let's do a final one, okay?
C.
Go straight on, go past the traffic lights and go straight on until you get to the roundabout. At the roundabout, turn left, go past the theatre. It's the building next to the theatre, opposite the hospital.
Okay, where are we now? Where have we reached? Krishna sir says cinema. Let's try that. And we are correct. So this way, you can go on, you can how to do it, but the tool you use is Edpuzzle. It's super easy to use. So if you just type edpuzzle.com, it will allow you, and like I said, it's free. Most of the features are free. So you can use a video to actually use it as an assessment. Right, so this was an example of how you can use videos beyond your classroom as well. So that because you can use videos as an assessment tool, you can use it as homework, you can send them later as a support material, as a reference material for particularly slow learners to actually do their homework. So it can act as a support resource. Let me also show you some of the other resources that we have, which are some authentic resources that you can use. Where can you look for authentic resources that are linked to our curriculum? Ashok sir, the CHRD's platform is visible on the screen?
Sure.
Yes, okay, great. So this is CHRD's online learning platform. And like you can see, we will be sending you the links, but there are lots of resources. So you can choose your grade. You can, of course, go and choose your own grade. I will take you through grade 6 for a particular reason, because we've included a lot of our resources in there as well. Okay, there, of course, are other good resources there as well. But if you click on English for grade 6, you will see a resource there called Edge. If you click on it, there are various resources there. So a couple of them, this one is they're more than audiovisual. It's more a resource which you can actually download and use, which is related to English. It's not directly related to the curriculum, as in it doesn't match a textbook, but it matches with the learning outcomes that learners from grade 6 would need to achieve. So there are a lot of activities here, a lot of stories here, and very soon we are coming up with audio stories as well related to this. So you can watch out for this site. The other site I want to take you through is our Learn English Kids site. I did see a question very early on that was related to beginners who are beginning to learn English. They do not understand or they do not recognize the language. So how can we use tools to support them? Probably if you go through our Learn English Kids website, you'll get loads and loads of audiovisual resources that you can use. And again, because early grade English, the learning outcomes are age specific. So it wouldn't really matter if it's not based on our curriculum, but it is based on the CFR level scale of age groups. So this website is for age groups from 5 to about 11. So any age group between 5 to 11, you will find resources here. So if you go to the listen and watch section, there are lots of songs, videos. So let me just go to the video zone, for example. There will be a lot of videos here, which you can select and choose. Or if I go to the short stories, let's say, for example, okay, there will be lots of videos here, which are stories. For example, let me click on that one. There is a video, but there will be lots of games as well, which students can play. So the video, of course, is there, but there are also games there and also activities, ready-made activities for you to use. So in the current situation where most of our kids at home do not have textbooks and you have to just rely on the Zoom platform, such videos with ready-made activities and from authentic sources will be very useful for you. You don't have to spend time even making the activities. There's a lot of vocabulary and grammar activities as well, fun and games, particularly the ones related to games would be for the primary level beginner learners who are just recognizing alphabets. So there will be games related to alphabets. And for these young learners, it's a visual retreat. It's repetition that is going to help them. And it's visual things that are going to help them, not audio. You might sit there teaching them from the textbook, loads and loads of resources, loads and loads of information, but that's all going to go over their heads because visual appeal is best when it comes to remote teaching and learning, particularly around online teaching. So all of these visually very appealing, it's really going to help you all to be able to understand and learn better. One final resource which I will take you through before we finish is, just give me 1 minute while I open it. Now this one will be on CHRD's platform, CDC's platform, sorry. And this one is related to, at the moment, we've got a lot of resources related to low primary learners. So a lot of resources there related to low primary learners, which are based on the integrated curriculum. So I have pasted the link on the chat box. If you go through the resource there, you should be able to click on the audiovisual section of this website. If you go to the audiovisual section of this website, you will be able to see a lot of resources there, which are for lower primary learners, which is grades 1 to 3, based on the integrated curriculum. So again, a lot of audio resources there, which will help you for your online teaching and learning. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. Over to you, Dipanjali, for questions.
Sure, thank you to both of our presenters for the insightful presentation. Let's head on to the question from our participants. There are quite a number of questions that we have. This one is for Vaishali ma'am. From Muniram Prasad sir. So the question is, while teaching English to students who don't understand at all the language, how to select videos to help them grasp the basics? Do I need to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dipanjali. Yeah, like I said earlier as well, when I was showing the Learn English Kids website, I think for those learners who aren't able to understand the language as of now, we need to show them a lot of visuals. They need to be able to understand their language by visual appeal. And the most important, again, when we are teaching English, we know it's listening, speaking, reading, and writing. That's the order that we need to go through. So for them, reading and writing is at the last. Right now, we need to help them develop their listening skills, which could be through a video, a lot of flashcards, a lot of visual material where they can see and understand the language, like the video that Ashok sir shared. You could understand the text much, much more because you were already seeing the actions, you were seeing expressions. Because in a video, if you don't know the meaning of elated, it's a big word. But if you see a video and you say, I am elated, you will see a big smile on my face. So you will understand that elated probably means happy. So that visual appeal is very important. So you're using a lot of visuals and a lot of pictures and videos probably would help.
Thank you, Vishal ma'am. There's another question from Vinod Khanya sir. How can we manage the devices to those students who are unable to buy mobile or laptop and in large number in the family? Will you be getting this, Ashok sir?
Thank you. Regarding the things, first, as we already shared, what you have access. At least many of the parents have mobile phones, and there is the service from Nepal Telecom CUG service where the teachers like in Dang, like in Putan, like in Rolpa, they are using this service to my review, and they are trying to use the access by phone calls and chats, even SMS service from the parents. And sometimes we have MMS service as well, which we can use it. So, and another interesting thing is that sometimes through the use of mobile phones, yeah, there are some challenges behind it. We cannot ignore that as well. So you can use, because remote means, in what sense remote are we talking? Remote in the sense that we can't use video is not a remote, but at least we can use audio. Like there are several radio programs that they are supporting. Like even last time we remember British Council, and we worked on the audio records by supported by Cambridge as well. And there are several adaptations with the courses as well. The most important thing is that how much we can adapt, how much we can take to our classroom, and where those audio, there are plenty of audio resources, video resources, but what we need to think of the extent that we can adapt it. Facebook groups, yes, can also be used. That's great.
Thank you, Ashok sir. Let's head on to another question. That's for Vaishali ma'am again. There are various resources we can find, but how can we be sure that the resources we are choosing or sharing is appropriate?
Thank you. Yeah, the couple of points that I mentioned on the slide where I was saying, how do you select the right resource? Yes, there are millions of resources, and select resources that are age appropriate. Child protection, I think, is absolutely important when we look at online resources, because there are lots of things there that have been put out with bad intentions. And we as a teacher, it is our responsibility to be able to keep our children safe from all of those. So just because it's a cartoon, it doesn't mean it's good for our students. So we need to be able to look at it first ourselves, go through it, and select and make a decision whether it is appropriate for our children. And we teachers, I think we do have that capacity to be able to do it, but often we neglect it, we ignore it, because we just don't go through resources before using it. So I think that little cautious from us, is it age appropriate? Are the words appropriate? Are the gestures there appropriate? I don't know if you're aware, but I'm aware of lots and lots of cartoons that have very inappropriate gestures, which are not suitable for our children. So we can't miss out on all of those. So when you're using resources, use it, select resources from authentic websites. For English, again, of course, British Council, but there are Cambridge resources as well. You know, if you look at Cambridge University Press resources, Cambridge University resources, there are one-stop English resources that you can go through. So select resources from websites that are authentic. Don't just pick it out from YouTube. It's going to be really useful.
And to chip in what Vaishali ma'am said, first, when the thing that we need to understand is please go through the resource completely. Sometimes we select the few minutes of a video taken from YouTube and we show directly in the classroom without watching it completely. That might be an also confusion for us. So where to adapt it, where to put the pre-discussion question, where to put the post-discussion question. Simply showing the video is not a complete class. We need to adapt with what we are doing with our courses, with the objective what we are, why we are using the video or even audio.
Thank you, Vaishali ma'am and Ashok sir. As we are near the end of the session, I'll be taking only one question now. So the question is, how important it is to provide training to teachers on using audiovisual materials for remote teaching or teaching in general method, as every teacher might not have digital skill.
Would you want to start off, Ashok sir?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, sir. The question is, how important it is to provide training to teachers on using audiovisual materials for remote teaching or teaching in general a method, as every teacher might not have a digital skill.
That's true. That's true. So audio visual materials, when we have in a class 45 minutes, so how long do we engage it? Because the an appropriate time, as theory says, the student can concentrate is to from 12 to 17 minutes in the classroom. If we are showing the whole period 45 minutes, a whole video classroom, then how far it is going to be effective? We need to plan it. Simply showing, I already mentioned earlier, simply showing a video or audio or simply playing a game does not make a class really alive, or does not make a class wow. So our focus will be on discussing how we can integrate, so adapting as we discussed earlier. So when to show the video, and when which video we can adapt it. There might be cases like, sometimes I have seen the cases like some teachers, they record their voices and their mobile phones, and then they take to the classroom, and they ask the student to listen it. There might be places where you cannot avail all the resources. So at that situation, what to do it? We can work on. And if you are using in the other areas as well, there, even if sometimes we have PDF readers as well, they can read for you. There are some books, mostly books are available in PDF version, and they can read for you if you have that access also. So it depends upon how you are using, and of course training is a must, because it guides you and it makes your classroom organized. That's my perception. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add a bit there. I think, yes, training is very, very important. We can't just assume that everyone can do it. If there are head teachers here, I would really encourage you to support your teachers, give them that training, give them opportunities for a webinar where they can learn it before you actually ask them to do it. And if teachers here are interested, yes, there will be loads of webinars up there on, we at British Council, we've also done a lot of webinars on how to use audiovisual resources. Train yourself, get all that information. And in terms of what we do at British Council, we do a lot of these trainings, but of course, the way we work has changed a bit because we work very closely with local governments rather than individual schools. So requests do need to come in from local governments for support. We have been supporting, for example, the Kauswati municipality, and now we're going to start something with the Walling municipality as well. So because our modality has changed a bit, it would need to come from the local governments as a request, but there will be lots of resources online. And tomorrow in an email, we will be sending you all of these links that we just shared. It will be coming to you over email. And maybe we will try and add a few more, which can give you links to maybe webinars where you can go through and uplift your skills on related to how you can use audiovisual resources as well. Over to you, Dipanjali.
Thank you, Vaishali ma'am and sir. We are at the end of the webinar today, and thank you to all the participants for being here. And we hope that you look forward to our next webinar session that will be sending information related to it. So yeah. I think we can end the session now. Did you thank you all.